So I've been buying a lot of men's classic fragrances, and I thought to myself, let's talk about some of the worst reformulated fragrances. These are classic men's releases, and I'm going to tell you how these are, what they smell like, and rank them from number 10 to number 1, and also one bonus fragrance. So if you want to find out about these men's fragrances and how they smell currently with their current formulations, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today I'm talking about men's fragrances and how they smell currently. Some of these are very old, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now. Well, not now, actually. 2000s and prior, these fragrances were launched, and there's a total of 10 of them, and I'll let you know all about them. But before I get to the fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So how many of you love classic men's fragrances? Are you older? Are you younger? Are you more into the modern fragrances, or do you enjoy everything? You like stuff from the classic, the historic, the old school, up to what's being launched today? Let me know, put a comment down. Let's get right to it. I'm gonna go and start with the first fragrance at number 10. Again, this is a ranked video. Going to the house of Chanel, ANTAEUS. Boy, this has rough touches. Extremely rough touches, and I think the notes they're using in here have a very gummy, dusty type of a smell, and from what I remember, this smelling in the 80s and even in the 90s doesn't smell anything like this. So the reformulation for me is completely destroyed. Like it's not what it used to be, is what I should say. This actually was launched in 1981. I was probably around 14 when I first discovered it. So about 3 years later, could have even been around the 3 years after I discovered, 2 years after I discovered this, after its launch. And I always was, attracted to the bottle. It was a beautifully sleek design, black bottle, and the smell was intense, overwhelming, leather, very aromatic touches. But it's created by Jacques Polge in 1981. It features notes of Castoreum, Oakmoss, rose, myrrh, patchouli, labdanum, clary sage, coriander, thyme, basil, bergamot, lime, lemon, jasmine. Lots of stuff going on in here, but it's mostly a leather with aromatic touches, and of course Oakmoss. And of course we know about Oakmoss, how it's not used a lot anymore with IFRA regulations and things like that. And I believe the leather note in here, which is taken from the Castoreum, and the Oakmoss, which is replaced and reformulated to add similar notes, is what's caused this to not smell as good as it used to be. This is my hunch. I know that there's regulations with those kind of notes, and most likely they were using the real Castoreum back then for this to smell like real leather. I doubt that they're using the real Castoreum now. This is under Chanel. It's a big house, so they are definitely regulated by IFRA. So I'm putting this at number 10. I like Chanel as a house, and I also really enjoy the smell, but I'm having a challenging time with this one because there is something off about it. Either way, ANTAEUS at number 10. At number 9, going to the 2000s actually, 2006, to the house of YSL. This is L'Homme, this one right here. First of all, I remember this being a ginger bomb when it first launched, and now it's hardly there. Everything seems to be kind of blended and mashed together to create this kind of like a soup of not very distinguishable notes. And when it was first launched, I remember it being very vibrant, zingy, spicy with that ginger note. So this came out in 2006, and I remember in 2006 I took my very first trip to France, the first trip being ever in Paris. This is when this launched. Also Terre d'Hermès launched it that same year. I bought both fragrances that year and was wearing them. Not really into the niche at that time, but I just remember how vivid this smell was. But 2006 launch, it was created by 4 perfumers Anne Flipo, Dominique Ropion, Juliette Karaagueuzoglou, Pierre Wargnye, and it features notes of ginger, spices, tonka beans, violet leaf, cedar, bergamot, lemons, pepper, vetiver, basil. It is sad. It's not as vibrant as I said. It's not as vivid. Things seem flattened. I don't know what's caused here to go flatter. I don't know there's notes in here that would trigger like major reformulations, but this to me just seems like a flat image of, or not flat is not what I should say, just a weak image of the original fragrance. Now, the cool thing is, it's relative. La Nuit de l'Homme, I think, still smells great. I think it's not as strong as it used to be, but as a smell, it smells great. This to me just seems just watered down. I don't know if it's an intentional thing to create all its flankers that have come out after this. I can't say, but it's not what it used to be. So it's a sad situation, but it is YSL after all. We're dealing with L'Oreal and how they reformulate things and things like that frequently. Anyway, YSL's L'Homme launched in 2006 at number 9. Now this next one is another one that's just taken major watering down. I was given this fragrance in 1997 as a gift for my birthday. Both my brother and sister, they were much younger than me, and they gave me this as a gift. And I remember wearing it that year, that summer. No, it was fall, actually. It was just around fall because my birthday's in September. They gave it to me and I was really impressed with how great it was. And even though at that time it was considered aquatic marine, I didn't really get a lot of like sea touches with this one. But it has now gone through major watering down. It's like a major weak fragrance. It's Armani Acqua di Gio, launched in 1996, so a year before or a year after it was launched, I wore this particular fragrance. And there was a zing with this one too, a heft. And I remembered it was melons and peaches. That's what I got with the fragrance. So it was very melony, which melons are associated with fragrances smelling aquatic marine. But either way, this is created by Alberto Morillas along with Annick Menardo and a third perfumer, Christian Dussolier. And the notes are marine notes: lime, lemons, bergamot, jasmine, orange, mandarin, neroli, cologne, peach, white musk, cedar, oakmoss, patchouli. There's a lot going on in here. It is just watered down, like majorly watered down. To me, the current version of Acqua di Gio Profumo, minus the smoky touches with that one, is what Acqua di Gio used to smell like. It just brings back memories. But it's just, now we have that fragrance obviously, but this particular one has been diluted. It's not what it used to be. The vibrancy, the vividness is gone. It's more of a watery experience. I guess maybe back then, I don't know, this is my hunch, but back then things were a lot more intense, but they also didn't have a lot of flankers. Did the brands figure out that if we water these fragrances down, we can crank out flankers? I don't know, but that's what my experience is. When you wear a fragrance so much and you know smells so strongly, when fragrances get reformulated and watered down, you definitely realize. Anyway, number 8, Acqua di Gio. It is by Armani, launched in 1996. All right, at number 7, we're going with the House of Nautica, and this is blue. This one right here. And this one I recently did a Marshall's fragrance haul. I bought them from Marshall's, a bunch of fragrances, and a couple of them, no, just one of them is ended up in this list, because I felt like this particular fragrance has lost its luster as well. There's no oomph to it. Everything seems flat, and there's something under there that goes metallic, aromatic, that is not very pleasant. But still, it still smells a little better than everything else that's coming after this particular fragrance. This is a 2005 launch, created by Maurice Roussel. The notes are pineapple, water lily, sandalwood, musk, jasmine, bergamot, peach, cedar. Now for me, I don't get a lot of pineapple-y touches with this one. At least for me, once again, all the notes are kind of like mashed together, that notes are not too distinguishable. I get a water lily-esque touch, but pineapple doesn't really stand out. Pineapple can go tart or sweet. None of those factors come in with this fragrance. It's almost like a nondescript fruitiness that's in here, which to me, I want to smell the actual notes, and I want to, like, you know, think, okay, that smells really great. I want to find more pineapple fragrances kind of thing. But sure enough, it does not really give me the qualities of the pineapple or anything else. Everything just seems like a mashup, a soup of notes together, which is sad and disappointing. But then again, Nautica is not, I mean, what's Nautica been doing? I know Nautica Voyage is still great. That still smells great. If I ever do an opposite video, I will include that. That is a great cheapie. But this seems like something's wrong with it, and it hasn't been given the great reformulation. Either way, Nautica Blue from 2005, created by Maurice Roussel. Disappointing reformulation. So this next one's probably going to disappoint a lot of folks, but this is a very historic fragrance. The very first fragrance launched by Ralph Lauren. I think it's the very first fragrance. This is Polo from 1978, created by Carlos Benaim. So this to me starts off amazing. Reminding me of the original fragrance, because this one, my dad wore a lot of it. I used to always go steal splashes from him because he had the splash bottles of these, and I loved its greenness. Hey, it's a green bottle, look at that. Very, very green. But to me, it starts off like it used to smell, a lighter version of it, then it takes a detour, and the leather to me smells very, very unpleasant. So it starts off great, ends up smelling not so pleasant. Kind of in the same situation with the Chanel ANTAEUS, but this one is they're adding kind of like an animalic experience with the leather, but it's an unpleasant animalic experience. And even though this is supposed to be animalic too, it's not as animalic as this particular one. And I'm experiencing the animalic touches. In that one, it's not so much, but it's unpleasant in a way that I don't care for it, unfortunately. But this features tobacco, oak moss, pine tree, leather, patchouli, chamomile, cedar, vetiver, musk, carnation, geranium, juniper, caraway, artemisia. Very green, very aromatic, very leathery, very pine foresty. All of those come to mind, but disappointing reformulation, sadly. Again, it starts out great, hints at the original, which is a great start, but develops into something I don't really like wearing. Anyway, Ralph Lauren Polo from 1978, created by Carlos Benaim. So this next one, going to the house of Laura Biagiotti. This is Roma Uomo, this one right here, from 1992, Annick Menardo. And as I said, the further we go up to the top, the less, the worse it gets with the reformulations. So they smell not as good, or they smell worse. This one, it was a toss-up between number 5 and number 4. And both of the bottles seem very similar to me, and both of them came out in the same year. This is Annick Menardo created. I don't know this house too much. I should explore a little more. This I remember from the early 90s, but it's been so long since I smelled it, and I picked it up recently. Sadly, to me, it's gotten so watered down. No distinguishable notes, and the other thing is, it's just like you're smelling some sweet water, like a honeyed water, that doesn't really like tell you what the notes are. So it's a sad kind of a situation. A great looking bottle, but sad. It features notes of benzoin, grapefruit, galbanum, pine tree, jasmine, sandalwood, patchouli, cedar, heliotrope, juniper, basil, bergamot. To me, I don't really get much of the galbanum here. Something green is in there. The benzoin is not too stand out. Like I said, it's kind of reminding me of this honeyed amber water. So it's a very, very light and transparent experience, and also very, very short-lived. Yes, you experience something citrusy, but I'm not really distinguishing the grapefruit with this one. So it's kind of just like amber water, basically. So almost experiencing like eau de cologne, because it's so light. But there's something sweet there. There's something citrusy there. God knows what it is, and that's the experience I have with this one. So Roma Uomo from Laura Biagiotti is number 5. And this next one is another one, and as I said, both of them came out same year, similar kind of like frosted looking bottles. Here it is. This is Minotaur from Paloma Picasso. This is Roma Uomo from the house of Laura Biagiotti. But this one, man, I wore so much of this in the early 90s. I think it was around 92, 93, and 94 when I was wearing it. It was intense, but really, really delicious fragrance. Wonderful, wonderful fragrance created by Michel Almerac. But now, similar to the Roma Uomo by Laura Biagiotti, it's just a kind of like a fruity, a light fruity, honeyed, ambery water. That's all it is. Nothing much else. It's just a really, really bad reformulation. Awful, awful reformulation. But notes are fruity notes, tonka beans, aldehydes, bergamot, tarragon, galbanum, coriander, vanilla, sandalwood, musk, amber, cedar, geranium. Everything is completely light and thin. There's a light hint of what the fragrance used to smell like. Nothing like the original. It is a little fruity, but it's also very, very short-lived. So right now, all I can do is say, this brings back lots of memories because I wore it in around 92 to 94 and I loved this bottle, absolutely loved it. The box, everything about it I loved, but sad, this is very disappointing. So Paloma Picasso Minotaur, did I say the name earlier? Minotaur is the name. I love this one. It brings back so many memories. I wish they launched this in a new, more intense, oomphy version now. Just major memories with this when I was 21 when it first came out, and I hope something like this comes out soon. Anyway, Minotaur by Paloma Picasso at number 4. Whoa, this next 3 are the worst, absolute worst reformulations. Sad state. So this next one's from the house of Halston. This is 112. I wanted to feature Z14, which is my absolute favorite, but I haven't bought that one lately. The one I have currently, I think I bought in the late 2000s. Still has some kind of a nice smell to it. Still reformulated, but when I compare it to this is like water and pine tree kind of thing. I don't know what's wrong with it. But came out in 1976, and Halston fragrances are under Revlon currently, and I have another Revlon owned brand here as well, which I'm going to get to very, very soon. But their fragrances just nothing like what they used to smell like. This is very, very historic to me and also means a lot to me because my dad and my uncle wore Halston 112 and Z14. They both really loved it. Launched in 1976, and it says the perfumers are unknown and I can't really tell, but the Z14 were created by Vincent Marcello and Max Gavari. So I don't know if you know these perfumers. Did they create this 112 as well? Because they were both created at the same time, according to the Netflix miniseries for Halston. If you haven't watched that, you should. Episode 3 is all about the perfume creation, the very first Halston fragrance. Anyway, notes are Oakmoss, green notes, lemon, lavender, galbanum, bergamot, juniper, labdanum, cedar, musk, tonka, carnation, basil. Great notes, green fragrance, amazing fragrance originally, but now it's a major disappointment, absolute disappointment. I guess I bought a bunch of Halston fragrances right after that mini-series on Netflix. All of the ones under Revlon, I wouldn't even buy now. They're just really crappy. Anyway, Halston 112 from 1976 is at number 3. So earlier I did a video, a haul video, a big ginormous haul video. If you haven't caught that, go catch it. This particular fragrance was featured in it, and this is the reason, one of the reasons why I decided to do this video, because now I had 10 fragrances, or a little more than 10 fragrances to do this video. This is from a house called Café Parfums, and this is Homme de Café, created by Alberto Morillas. What a disappointing fragrance this is. Absolutely, like, what the hell am I smelling? It doesn't even make sense, and the notes I found on this don't even make sense to me. But 1978 is when this came out, 2 years after this, but this smells worse than this. It's so bad, such bad reformulation, and it features notes of cedar, musk, cloverleaf, raspberry, bergamot, orange. Very light. Once again, every note is blended together and basically nothing stands out. So I'm not really smelling a lot of cedar. I'm not really smelling a lot of musk. Maybe cloverleaf. There is something green and kind of like aromatic in there. But really, I don't get much raspberry, the fruitiness. And I do get the citruses, but not distinguishable. Like, I can't tell if I'm smelling bergamot or orange. It's just watered down mess. Kind of like a soup of notes together, like when you mix and boil like soup together, and if everything is mixed so much, when you're tasting it, it's all kind of blended kind of a thing. That's what I'm getting with it. It's a disappointing thing. I was really, really looking forward to this one, but it's a disappointment. So this is Homme de Café from Café Parfums. I'm forgetting to say what the names are at the beginning, but of course I'm putting the titles there. I like that little logo of the coffee beans on top there. I don't know if that focuses or not, but I like the bottle as well, but very, very disappointing fragrance. Anyway, Café Parfums Homme de Café at number 2. What's my number 1? Okay, my number 1 was also in that ginormous haul video, fragrance haul video. If you haven't caught that, please go catch it. But this is a major, major turnoff of a fragrance. This is from the house of Giorgio Beverly Hills. This is Wings for Men. Oh my God, what a bad smelling fragrance. Very, very disappointing fragrance. It smells nothing like the original, and the original was amazing, amazing fragrance. This to me was a fragrance that I think it was that trend of aquatics, early 90s kind of a thing, and at the time it smelled really fabulous, but now it's like laundry dryer sheets kind of a thing. I don't really want to wear laundry dryer sheets, and that's what this smells like. It's unpleasant, it's metallic, it's sharp, lots of aromatic notes, lots of them, and that's pretty much I get. It's like lightly ambery, lightly woody, but a major dosage of aromatics and flowers, and it's very, very sharp and smells like laundry dryer sheets. And you know, like I said, I don't want to smell like laundry dryer sheets. This came out in '94. This is created by Jean-Claude Delville, and it features lavender, green notes, bergamot, jasmine, amber, tonka beans, musk, oakmoss, cedar, geranium, clary sage, coriander, lily of the valley. It's a very major disappointing fragrance. Again, it's under Revlon, and they don't do a good job with reformulating. And I believe these people, Giorgio Beverly Hills brand, sold it to Revlon, or somehow it ended up under Revlon. And now the fragrances are just major disappointment. Not worth it, even if it's cheap. Both of these, even the Halston, very inexpensive fragrances, around $10, $15, but definitely not worth it. Only reason I have them is for the nostalgia reasons. These are major disappointing. They won't smell great, especially for the younger generation, because they won't want any of this stuff, because not only doesn't smell great, they will not remember anything. And if you can find vintages of these, which I don't have obviously, you'll be much better off, but God knows what stage they're in or what state they're in. Anyway, Wings from Giorgio Beverly Hills at number 1. Bad fragrance. Really, really bad. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these fragrances. I'm gonna dig more into men's fragrances, classic ones, and I'll keep doing videos like this. But what are your thoughts on these fragrances? Do you have the latest versions, and do you like them, or do you not like them? I'll probably do an opposite version of this video, ones that I know that are old that still smell great today. We'll do that. Stay tuned for that. But at this time, this is the list for these fragrances and what I think about them in their current state. Some don't smell as great as I want them. Like number 1 is the worst, obviously. Number 10 is okay, and it works down that way. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have fragrances that you've bought recently that are classic, or even some modern ones that have been reformulated, let me know what they are and what their current state is. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, I wanted to offer up one more bonus fragrance. This one is actually a unisex fragrance that came out in the early 90s, 94 to be exact. But a lot of men wear this one. I wore it. My sister wore it even. She was very, very young. This is Calvin Klein's CK1. So this one to me doesn't smell bad or anything. Man, it's gotten so weak. It's weak juice. Like, does it last an hour even? It's almost to the concentration, or to the level of the concentration of like an eau de cologne. Think 4711 or something like that. It's very, 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 very light. But this came out in '94, as I said. It was a huge, huge hit. Big seller. Major points to Calvin Klein, which was, you know, at its height at that time. I wore a bunch of Calvin Klein anything at that time. Loved the stuff, although starting probably in the late 80s till around 95, 96 is when I was really into Calvin Klein clothes and fragrances. But 1994, created by Alberto Morillas once again with Harry Fremont, and this features notes of lemons, green notes, bergamot, mandarin orange, cardamom, papaya, jasmine, lily of the valley, violets, nutmeg, musk, cedar, sandalwood, oak moss. Lots of stuff going on, and again, I brought this up in a video recently. I think they used to list a lot more notes back in the day. Now they're kind of getting skimpy with mentioning what notes are in fragrances. And do you really experience all those things here? No. For me, it's like a citrus aromatic fragrance. Lots of those stuff kind of mashed together, and I think it still smells pretty good. Takes me back to the to the mid 90s when I was going to film school. But really, it's very, very light juice, extremely light juice. It's very inexpensive too, so I think it'll be fine if you buy it knowing it's going to be light. Still smelling somewhat great, not like it used to be. It doesn't have the heft or the oomph that it once did, but just be warned, it's going to be very, very light. But, you know, maybe it's nostalgia kind of thing. 90s are kind of back now. I'm seeing maybe this will be a hit again. Who knows? Anyway, CK1 by Calvin Klein from 1994. Not featured in the list, but still kind of almost there. It's very, very disappointing with what's happened to this particular fragrance. Either way, that's the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about today.